Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Dell'Aria's Musical Escapades. I'm your host, Josh Dell'Aria. I apologize for not being able to get a video out last week. I was trying to get one on System and Station in, but as I contacted the band, they asked me not to release it, and by the time I was able to get in touch with them, I didn't have another option that I could turn to at that point. But I'm back with another one. So if you guys have seen some of my videos in the past, you probably know that I'm a big fan of hearing about some really little-told stories. Just as much as I am about finding little-known music. You guys have heard me talk about groups like Big Big Train in the past, and now I have another one, Otis Gibbs. Now Otis actually has traveled the United States seeking out a lot of these kinds of different stories as well. Now a lot of them he writes about musicians, but there are some others that he writes about other things as well. As a matter of fact, Otis has actually put together a couple of podcasts / video series types of things, which I think he's only put together a couple of little things in each one of them, but they're still pretty good. I was actually watching a video that he did as part of an Old Weird America series, where he was actually talking with Slade Cleaves, who was the owner of a business shop down in Lubbock, Texas, that had a lot of history to it. And of course, Otis incorporates a lot of these stories into his own music. So in any case, I first heard Otis on public radio when I first started listening to it when I was up in Boston. And I think it was probably the last couple of times they actually played that song on the radio that I ever heard it anyways. If they ever played it on the radio again, I was not listening to the radio at that time. So it's kind of funny that I happened to stumble upon the song like the moment that I started listening to public radio, and then it just kind of washed away. But I wound up getting it for iTunes, and as I listened to it more and more, I realized that it deserved a spot in my top 20 back in 2014, and so it made it number 7 of 2014. And then Otis released another album back in 2017 called Mount Renraw, and I got Empire Hole from that particular album, and that one made the top 20 in that year as well. So Otis is now one of the now 25 musicians to have made the top 20 with 2 different songs. So I am actually going to play the first song that I heard from him because I felt like it has a lot more detail to it. Empire Hole is really awesome, and it has a really nice story to it and all that sort of stuff, but this one, Cozmina, has just a lot more detail to it and a lot more stuff that I could explain. So I decided to go with this one for this feature. So here it is. I will play it for you right here, right now.
Last night I sat on a mountain where the rocks cut into the sky, and the snow came down around me, suffocating the night. A child stood before me as a valley spread out below. Hungry, helpless, and walking the mountain road alone. The youngest child and I, the daddy died in a coal mine. There's no justice on the mountain, only firs and jack pines. A little girl without a father, a wife without her love, 10 empty bellies, and the winter rages on. The youngest child and daddy died in a coal mine.
Okay, one thing I can tell you guys is that I don't know the entire background of this story, but I can certainly tell you that I picked up enough of it from the music and the lyrics to understand pretty much a basic sense of the kind of person Otis is talking about. Now, to start off, I think it's important to realize that the instrumentals at the beginning and at the end are actually really important to this song. I think it's easy to kind of blow them off as just kind of like extra parts that don't make any difference, but that's absolutely not true. They actually are really critical to this song's development. In the beginning, I'll talk about the end at the end, but in the beginning, this really sets up the mood of the song. So as you can probably tell, the main purpose of using those instruments is to set the mood of the song. It's almost like an overture to an opera in a lot of ways, although the song's not an opera, obviously. But the music actually just really spells out the mood. Now, once Otis does get into the lyrics, he does a fantastic job of displaying the setting for you all in just 4 lines.
Last night I sat on the mountain where the rocks cut into the sky, and the snow came down around me, suffocating the night.
Yeah, it's amazing just to see how in just those little words, Otis just really paints an amazing picture, and the language he's using there is fantastic. It really gives you that strong sense of a cold winter night in the middle of the mountains. Okay, now listen to Otis's description of the child here, the main character in the song.
A child stood before me as a valley spread out below, hungry, helpless, and walking a mountain road alone.
Yeah, you listen to that and you just can't help but feel pity for this poor child. And as he goes on to explain, as Otis goes on to explain, this child's father dies in the gold mines, and it's just it evokes that kind of like desperation that you would think that the child would feel. just being, an orphan in the mountains and not having anybody to take care of him. And then at the end of the second verse, Otis is kind of firm about this, and it sounds really sad, but it's realistic what happens to this child.
A little girl without a father, a wife without her love, 10 empty bellies, and the winter rages on.
So it is really a sad story, but you kind of get the sense of how realistic it is and how well it describes that situation. And like I said, you can't help but feel pity for this family that, of course, it's not necessarily a true family, or at least I don't know that it is anyways, but you still get that sense of like pain and longing for that family and just wanting to help them. And then Otis ends it off with this violin part, which again it's like the end credits, as I mentioned beforehand. Like it just kind of like finishes kind of setting the tone for how the movie went or how the story went. So really, Otis is using all those parts and putting them together in such a way that it really strongly communicates that message to you of this child and family that's kind of struggling without their father. Okay, so apart from kind of the storytelling aspects of the song, I think Otis does a lot of musical, technical things well in this song also, and one of them would be this thing. Yeah, do you notice that really cool, awesome dead stop that he puts in there? Yeah, I think that's kind of a cool idea, just to kind of get that in there and kind of interrupt the flow of the music. Because otherwise you can kind of like the rest of the music will kind of pass you by if you didn't put that in there. But that stop will draw your attention right at that moment. And I think it just fits really well in that spot in the song. He does it twice, obviously. I'm not going to play it the second time because it's the exact same thing. But I think it's just really cool that he did it. Okay, another aspect that I want to point out from the musical side of things is the way that Otis has his band plays I guess the strings and violins here.
And the snow came down.
Yeah, what I want to point out here is the precision of those violins, because it's really, and I think one of the cool ideas there is that kind of just like constant plucking. It's one of those things that it's an easy thing. It's not a difficult thing to do, but it is a very easy thing to mess up. And I think, it probably doesn't take a whole lot of practice, but it's good to know that the background band is actually putting effort into the music. And if this is Otis, then I apologize. I don't know if Otis is playing everything in here, but I presume that there's a bunch of violins in the background on this. So nonetheless, what I basically mean to say is that whoever's playing the instruments in the background, one of the things that's easy to do is to forget how exactly some of those little notes are played. And it's kind of easy to think, oh, well, they're just little notes, nobody's really going to hear them. But that's kind of a trap that a lot of musicians will fall into. Those notes are actually important, even though they're not really heard or pronounced out loud as well, because it helps you kind of move through the song a lot better. And if they're played better, it helps you understand. All right, I want to give Otis a big thank you, and also his publicity team a big thank you for allowing me to use his music. That's all I have on this song for you guys. Thank you all for watching. If you like this stuff, guys, go and check out Otis Gibbs' website, otisgibbs.com. He's got all his songs on there, I think, or at least a lot of his music. We'll have samples of it anyways. And he's got all his podcasts and old video programs and stuff like that. That's all there on his website, so definitely go check it out. Also, if you guys like this content a lot, make sure you share this with some of your friends. I'm sure they would love to see it as well. And lastly, as always, if you know anybody, including yourself, who has some awesome music out there that you think should be heard, let me know. You can email me here at joshdell'Ariasmusicalescapades@gmail.com. You can send me a message or post on Facebook. on our Facebook page, facebook.com/JoshDmusicalEscapades, or you can leave it right down in the comments below. And I'll go take a listen, and you never know, it could end up right here on the show. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and until next time, go make great music.